as you know, as an entrepreneur, if you don't fully embrace who you are, what you're all about, and feel good about yourself, then you're not going to be as successful, as confident in your business. And so I like to really emphasize the personal healing, because that's what happens when you reach deep down inside, pull all that stuff out, and you embrace it, and you learn to love it, and you learn to understand that you are who you are because of those lemons in your life. And so it's sometimes hard to differentiate between, is it personal growth, is it professional growth? And honestly, it is both.
Welcome to another episode of WyzeCast, the show that elevates voices, shines the light, showcases the gifts of our heart-centered guests, and amplifies the positive differences they are making in the world. Listeners, I am excited for today's guest. She is the founder of Lemonade Legend, a company offering both print and media exposure through her anthology series, digital magazines, a publishing house, her podcast, virtual stages, and her streaming TV shows. Her mission is to give people a voice, share their stories, and elevate them above the conventional noise. There is power and healing in storytelling, and her platforms celebrate the voice of individuals who have tackled lemons and created unique versions of lemonade opportunities. She is passionate because of her own story and has witnessed the healing, growth, and impact that happens with sharing stories. It's an opportunity to give back by inspiring others to stand in their strength and join a community of sharing in a safe place. For most people, this is where they can leap out of their fear, build confidence, and find self-love. Personal growth generally leads to professional growth as well. She wants people to succeed for all the right reasons. My name is Melanie McSally, your host for today's episode, and without further ado, I would like to give a warm welcome to the sweet, the talented, and the inspirational Michelle Faust. Michelle, welcome.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you so much. I appreciate being here, and it's always so great to see your smiling face.
Well, the pleasure is all mine. So can you explain the phrase you use, dancing with lemons?
Yes, I can. And thank you for asking. That was my last summit that I held. We titled it Dancing with Lemons. And now I kind of use it a lot, because this whole journey that I have been on really started with just a simple lemon to lemonade story. When life hands you lemon, you make the lemonade. And I feel like I've taken it just a little bit farther. It's not just about making the lemonade. It's more for me about facing those lemons head on and dancing with them and taking the lead. And, kind of taking those lemons more where I want them to go. So it's simple as adding a little sugar and making the lemonade. It's really about taking control where you can, because some things are out of our control, but certainly taking the lead in your life, because we're all going to get lemons, let's face it. And it's not going to happen once. It's going to happen, many times, sometimes bucketfuls.
It's raining
So that's
lemons.
how we dance with our lemons.
Oh, that's awesome. So I love this because we've been friends for a while, and we've worked together for a while now. And you've done a great job at taking people's tribulations and turning them into triumphs. so that others can feel inspired, they can be motivated. And then for the sharer of the story, it helps them connect even more with their audience and grow their business. Yeah.
Well, they do, and it's also about personal growth too. But as you know, as an entrepreneur, if you don't fully embrace who you are, what you're all about, and feel good about yourself, then you're not going to be as successful, as confident in your business. And so I like to really emphasize the personal healing, because that's what happens when you reach deep down inside, you pull all that stuff out, and you embrace it, and you learn to love it, and you learn to understand that you are who you are because of those lemons in your life. And so it's sometimes hard to differentiate between, is it personal growth, is it professional growth? And honestly, it is both.
Yeah, totally. And to be able to show up as the best version of ourselves in our business, we have to become the best version of ourselves. And the only way to do that is to dive inside and, to learn all the different facets of ourselves and to love them all, and to be able to grow past the ones, or release the ones that are holding us back. So is this where the lemonade stand came from?
Absolutely. I had my own burning desire to tell my story. And of course, we have many stories. I have many stories, but most of us have one kind of foundational story that really makes us who we are, gives us our purpose, our why. My story comes from the fact that I was born with a severe hearing loss. And yes, I tried hearing aids. I tried all kinds of things all throughout my life. And I just was able to do better by learning how to communicate alternatively. So I read lips and I read body language, and I just have this like sixth sense of awareness, and it became better for me than trying the hearing aid route. So anyways, but in spite of all of that, I succeeded in ways that many people, my hearing doctor was right there at the top saying, I don't know how you do what you do. And I don't know how I did it either, to be honest, Melanie. I really don't. I just worked hard. I was just determined. I didn't want to set myself aside as somebody who couldn't do and fulfill my goals and my dreams. I just figured it out. And at some point, I know exactly what the point was, but it was a few years back, when I was no longer in the corporate world I was in. And I just realized that if I could do what I've done, anybody could do it. I mean, that's how low my self-esteem was. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And that's kind of a sad statement, but yet I was also at the same time very proud. And so I wanted to share that. And I wanted to share that with people who maybe, felt similar, had a similar story, and but they didn't know how. So I just decided to do my own anthology and put my own chapter in, and just find other people who are willing to do that, because people do a lot of self-publishing, but it's not as easy as it sounds, and it doesn't come without a cost, and I couldn't afford to do it right. So I spread the cost around with 18 other women who didn't even know me. They kind of just came, they like fell in my lap. It's amazing. But so 19 of us, we created a bond and an experience, and created this book that is beautiful. And I saw and witnessed not only my own healing, but their healing. It's probably the most powerful thing I've ever done in my life.
That's so cool. And I know you say that it came from a low a low place of self-esteem. But honestly, not everybody can do what you do professionally, personally. Maybe everybody can overcome their own challenges, and that's what you're helping them with. I wouldn't say everybody can write the way you write and publish the way you publish. So it may feel like it came from a place of low self-esteem, but it definitely is not, because the quality of your work and the power of the words that you help people string together is really impactful. Personally, helping them through their own transformation, but also professionally in helping them connect with their clients and level up their business. So you've done 3 of these now. What's your next project? Is it another one? Is it a...
It is, and I have to tell you, every time, well, when I did the first one, I kind of thought it was a one and done until I had a couple of women say, "I want to be in your next one." I said, "Oh, my next one?" Okay. So the next one happened. And then the third one kind of happened in the same way. I met one individual in Illinois. We connected when I happened to be there, and she's like, "Yeah, I want to be in your next book." And I'm like, "I don't know if I can do a third book," but we did. And it was all because of that one author who said, "I want my story out there." So I kind of took a step back after number 3 and kind of to assess, what do I really want to do? Well, book number 4 is coming out. However, I will say I'm going to try something just a little bit different, because all the other stories and that people have shared in their chapters, they've run the gamut of primarily their personal stories. And this time, because I've seen what a powerful marketing resource this book can be, I want the lemon to lemonade entrepreneurial story. And you can't be an entrepreneur without having that story. You just can't. I mean, it's not that easy. We don't just decide one day. We're getting rid of the paycheck and stepping out on our own. It's all going to be great. And I felt like those lemonade stories would really be impactful for people starting their own business, to understand it isn't easy, but you can get past it. There are things you can do, there's support you can get. So I wanted to do it for that reason, but also because the book's success is all about co-promoting and really having a common goal of from a marketing standpoint. And I felt like if everybody had that entrepreneurial spirit and know-how, that we could make this 4th book something amazing. So that's what I'm looking for. I mean, I want a little backstory. I want a little backstory of, like, I would put my hearing in there if I was talking about my entrepreneurial journey, because that backstory is our why, and it really is our purpose and our mission. So I've got just a couple of authors on board. I just started this, and I'm looking for no more than 12. I've done more authors than that, but this time I want to cap it at 12, because I really want to give enough space in each chapter for people to really, have a good, robust, and meaningful story.
I love the theme because it gives people a real clear context of like, why this? Why is this for me? And so if you're an entrepreneur and you have yet to tell your story in print to the world, then what a great place to do it, because you can not 10x, but you can 12x your exposure, because there's 11 other authors in this book, all promoting. And so when they're promoting and the book gets in somebody's hands for them, people aren't just going to read that one chapter, they're going to read the whole book. And so then you've gotten that exposure. Why do you think it's so important for people to share their story, especially in business? Because we know a lot of people in the business world are like, business is business, it's not personal. So why do you feel like it's important to share your?
It's incredibly important, especially in today's world. Once upon a time, I do believe we wanted to project this image. By we, I mean we're the people. We wanted to be in the black suit and, the fancy high-heeled shoes for us ladies. And we wanted this image projected that caused us to suppress everything else within. That's in the past. We are a world that is hurting, and we want to know that we're not alone. The misery loves company kind of thing. But it doesn't have to be misery. It can be rejoicing in, yeah, we're all hurting, but we're all in this together. And particularly if you are in a space that is pretty crowded, like coaching, real estate, all kinds of positions where people are choosing you more because of who you are, right? If you are somebody that has a past, a story, an expertise in an area, then that client is more likely, if that resonates with them, they're more likely to choose you, not somebody else just because they have X amount of home sales or they've coached thousands of clients. They're not looking for the numbers in that instant. They're looking for you. They're looking for the person who they know is going to resonate with them. So it just makes a person more real, more likable, more trustworthy.
Yeah, I can totally relate to this because, I come from a prestigious background, and so we always had to have a certain appearance and a certain demure, and so you never hid you never showcased your insecurities, right? You always were confident and bold and, gave the best version of yourself. And then when I entered the entrepreneurial world, I continued that, and I wasn't getting so much conversion, right? Like people weren't relating to me. I speak about technology, and so when people are listening to talks about technology, I mean, there's a dime a dozen of us, right? It's all, even more so now. Now everybody thinks that they can do their own technology, but even back then, it was like, okay, I can choose A, B, C, all the way through the alphabet. And we were all at the same event. We were all in front of the same people. And so it wasn't until I showcased my ability to translate tech talk into human speak, right? And make technology accessible to people by showing them that I'm a real human being. And showing people that they can make technology human, and not so cold and bombastic, I think is a good word. That's when people started working with me, because now I was relatable and I made it easy for them. And so I can totally relate to what you're talking about.
And I'll share a little story with you. I knew you for years before I hired you to do my work, because you did portray such an image of expertise and education. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't afford her. I never even asked you.
I remember the first time you did ask me, you asked me what my pricing was, and I told you, and you're like, oh, I could afford that.
I had been through so many people who had disappointed me, and I wasn't able to work with. You already knew what I was doing, so you had that inside scoop that others didn't. And yes, I'll never forget that. I said that I can afford you. So anyway, so you're right. Sometimes image works against us in that kind of a situation. So do you need a chapter in a book? Maybe not, but you do need to be real and honest, and you need to put yourself out there and not be afraid just to be the real you. And hey, if you want to put a chapter in a book too, it's all the better.
Well, I mean, a chapter in a book is a good way. So first you need to know who you're targeting, right? You need to know who are the people. So, if I turned our interactions back upon myself and took ownership for what you were feeling, then I would say, okay, my ideal client is not a technologist. They're brand new to entrepreneurship, so they don't really have a huge budget. And so, how am I going to make myself relatable to that target audience? Because if you're seeing me as unaccessible, then I am unaccessible, right? And so when you know who your target audience is and you know how to share in a way that's relatable to them, then you can choose the stories of your background that are going to resonate most and draw them into you, because we all have so much experience in life and so many stories, and probably multiple that got us into entrepreneurship. And so how to choose the right one and express it in such a way that is beneficial, is a win-win, right? Is beneficial to you and to your ideal client.
You're very right about that. And I'm glad you brought that up, Melanie, because there are some people who, when I talk about sharing your story, they think I'm referring to something like they were raped or they, were abused, or that, they go to the dramatic. And unfortunately, that's oftentimes is the story or is the situation. But not everybody has that kind of a background, but they still have a story. And that's what I try to get across, that it's how we grow up, it's the experiences that we have that make us who we are. But not only that, it continues on throughout our life. I put a chapter in every single book. It's not the same chapter, so it's not the same story. It's because things happen. The first book was the hearing loss. It's a big part of who I am. But then the second story was, and I'm not going to tell you all about it because you have to get the book to read it, but I spent 5 days in jail in New Orleans in lockdown. And I wasn't guilty of anything, but I still had to go through that. But it was an experience that taught me what it was like not to have a voice, because I tell you, when you're in jail, you have no voice. And then the third story was my husband had been through, a year plus of medical hell, and I had had to be a caretaker. And it taught me things that just about not only about me, but about love, about so many things in life, the unexpected, all of that. They see stories come, they happen to us, they teach us all along the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the story that got me into business is not the same story keeping me in business. So, so whether you're brand new to business and you want to share the story of how you got here, or you've been in business for a while and you either want to share the story of why am I still here, or maybe you want to share the story of what you've had to overcome to reach next level and next level and next level. I mean, there's a story that you might want to share regardless of where you are in business. So I would say, even if you don't think you have a good story in you, I promise you that you do. So Michelle runs a writer's workshop. So if you have any questions, or if you're curious to find out if you have a good story or not, which you do, I'm just going to tell you, you do, but you can attend this writer's workshop, learn more about being a contributing author to the Lemonade Stand book. If you don't have a book yet, a chapter if you're looking to become the authoritative figure in your space, to stand out from the rest, to share yourself, to give your people more reason to work with you, then I highly suggest that you take Michelle up on this offer. The workshop is free and you can use it to learn more, right? It's free, right?
It is free. Yep. It is. Yeah, absolutely. And, it will turn into a paid course at some point in time. But right now, take advantage of it being free. And we go through all kinds of things about writing because honestly, everybody can improve their writing, even if it's your emails, your content you put out there, anything, just some few foundational tips on writing, you're going to improve your writing exponentially.
Okay, we didn't prepare this, but I have a controversial question for you because I feel like it's going to be on the minds of at least a few listeners. And so I feel like we should tackle it. What are your thoughts? And I can give my own actually. What are your thoughts on using AI to write your chapter?
It is becoming, yes, it's kind of invading my world in a very positive and negative way. I think there's a place for it, but it doesn't replace you, the person. Sometimes I think if you're just using it to sort of get that kind of push, maybe you're stuck. Okay, if that helps you to sort of generate, the thought process and the flow, but then you got to break it down and you've got to make it you. Because here is my fear, is that someday we're all going to be some sort of version of a Stepford wife. I don't want that. I like people. I like real. And so sure, dabble with it. It's there. We can't make it go away. So we might as well figure out the best way to use it. But please, I would beg anyone out there who wants to be called an author, don't replace your writing with it.
Great advice. Okay, so I'm going to give my technology side advice.
I can't wait to hear that.
Okay, so I have seen the same thing done both ways. Somebody writes it personally and they have AI write it. And I can always tell the difference. I can tell the difference from writing. I can tell the difference from commercials. I can tell the difference from social media content. Now, I have an insider view. I've been doing AI since the early 90s. So I do have that insider perspective. However, keep in mind, you all have talked with your friends about something and seen the scroll on your Facebook or in Google about that very thing that you just talked about, and you're wondering how it ended up there, right? Like I talked about red shoes, and now my Facebook is covered with red shoes. And AI is storing every question that you ask it, because the whole premise behind artificial intelligence is that it's artificially learning. It's learning. So it's, you ask it a question, it answers you, you ask it a clarifying question. So it then learns that it didn't give you the answer it wanted. So it is storing all of this information, which means when somebody else asks the same question, they're going to get a similar, if not the same answer, which means there could end up being the same, two different people wearing the same red shoes. We women don't like this. Right? And so not only do you want to, I mean, certainly you can use it to get out of writer's block, right? You can use it for ideas. I like to use it for prompts, right? Like give me some chapter prompts, and then I can write my story based on those chapter prompts. Or give me the first paragraph, and then I can change it and expand it. So you can do that. But whatever you have, make sure you customize it to your own tone, gear it towards your own target audience, and make it personal to you. Remember, this is your story, and only you can tell that story. Unless your entire life is on the internet, then AI is not going to be able to find your personal story and give it back to you in a literary way. So you want to personalize it. You don't want to sound like a robot in your business. Therefore, you definitely don't want to sound like a robot in your story. You don't want to have the same story as somebody else. Then it would become obvious that you didn't write it. And also, just remember, whatever you're putting into the engine is being stored for later use. So just be mindful of that, because it's tied to your login too. So it is learning about you as you ask all of these questions.
It frightens me a little bit. I agree with you 100%, and your knowledge of it, your understanding of it, it's so much greater than mine. But it still, I feel like we're saying the same thing. You have to have, your writing has to have heart, and AI doesn't have heart.
That's so true. Computers do not have a beating heart. Well, awesome, Michelle. It has been such a delight and pleasure having you here today and listening to your wisdom and you share your own story. Again, listeners, I highly suggest that you take Michelle up on her writer's workshop. There are only 9 slots left in the Lemonade Stand book, 4th edition. That's the entrepreneurial edition. As Michelle said, it is one of the most powerful marketing tools out there, and she has thrown in some cool bonuses that she can tell you all about in the next writer's workshop, which is the easiest way to learn more about the project, how you can become a contributing author, as well as pick up on some tips to improve your writing in the process, should you need it. The link is on screen for those watching and in the description for everyone. Once again, thank you, Michelle, for being here. Listeners, I forgot to mention it earlier, but Michelle is joining us from Panama. Michelle, thank you once again for being here. It has been an honor having you as a guest on WyzeCast.
Thank you so much, Melanie, for having me. It's always a delight, so appreciate it.
I want to thank our listeners for tuning in. If you like what you heard here today, please do like, share, and comment. We are trying to get WyzeCast to be a hot new release. So if you feel inspired, if you felt moved, if you felt called, if we earned it, please do like, share, and comment. It is free for you to do so. It really helps the podcast grow, and we really do love your engagement. This was another episode of WyzeCast, the show that elevates the voices, shines the light, showcases the gifts of our heart-centered guests, and amplifies the positive difference they're making in the world. If you want to learn more about WyzeCast, you can visit our website at wyzecast.com. We drop 10 episodes every month on the 21st, so you can binge watch or spread them out over the month, whatever suits your mood and lifestyle. Once again, my name is Melanie. It has been my pleasure being your host today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your engagement. And I invite you to come back and join me once again for our next episode of WyzeCast.